In terms of this topic, I think it is poignant because we live in a religious country and a predominantly Christian country where people assume that it is self-evident that God exists. And we keep hearing time and time again how only the fool refuses to acknowledge that God exists, fool in quotes. So we want to hear what this evidence is that the Christians peddle. And why is it that it has not convinced us as atheists? I really, really look forward to this discussion. I will come back to it over and over again. I'll come back to it whenever I know that I'm going to meet people and we are going to discuss this issue of proof for God, evidence for God. So without further ado, I hand it over to ex-Pastor Stano. Karibu.
Yeah, fine. So today I think we are going to deal with the major reason or the evidence that the deists claim they have, and we look at them to see whether they hold water or they are good enough evidence for God. So let's continue with Wadaro, then we can proceed.
I guess so much can be said about this topic, but I'll try to maybe say something in an hour. In a minute. So the Apostle Paul in Romans 1 put it this way. In verse 8, he said that for the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who by their unrighteousness suppress the truth. And then so where the argument comes in is verse 19, for what can be known about God is plain to them because God has shown it to them, for his invisible attributes, namely his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly perceived ever since the creation of the world in the things that have been made, so they are without excuse. Yeah, so I guess that's now the argument. Just maybe creation. The Sam will talk about other ways to put it from philosophical lingo. And then now the other place is Romans 2:14, where it says, for when Gentiles who do not have the law by nature do what the law requires, they are a law to themselves, even though they do not have the law. They show that the work of the law is written on their hearts, while their conscience also bears witness, and their conflicting thoughts accuse or even excuse them on that day when, according to my gospel, God judges the secrets of men by Christ Jesus. So we take note of creation, showing the creator, and then now there's the conscience, showing that even people who don't believe in God or hate God have God's law written in their hearts by the virtue of the existence of the immaterial conscience. So I think those would be, so like I guess maybe in philosophical lingo that would be the moral argument and argument from causation. Yeah, so that's, I believe, what the Apostle Paul was driving at, Romans 1 and Romans 2. So that's all I will say. So much can be said about it, but that's all I'll say.
Thank you for that argument. Although the way you have learned in Romans chapter 1, in fact, I was preaching that a lot from 2008 until the time I left the Christianity. So that Romans chapter 1 is very powerful according to the Christian, even according to me on those days. So we can also write another book or a certain book to claim the thing that we see is our evidence, devil created them, or is our evidence, Spider-Man created them, or whatever. Whatever you can just replace the word God by using another thing. Everything that you have saying is just a claim from a book. We can also write a book and claim something that is totally different from what the Bible claim or from what another religious book claim. So I can just rebut like that. Wandaro and Oscar, you are very essential in this group because you are going to help us to understand some point that you may not be able to understand. Just you have introduced about the moral argument and also the causation. So
Okay,
yeah, you can go ahead before we allow others. The debate today is about evaluating the evidence presented from God and to see whether they hold water or they are. We can be able to accept them as evidence.
Can I move on, Stano?
Yeah, Oscar, proceed.
Okay, thank you, Pastor Stano. And I knew it, if I go through the Bible, you can be able to shut the way that you are trying to shut Charles' argument. That's why I never wanted to go through the Bible. That's why I'm saying I'm going to present it on a true ethics perspective. Does science give us an option? Okay, now let's go. Has science discovered God? That will be my headline. Einstein didn't believe it was possible. Stephen Hawking, the greatest Stephen Hawking, said it might be the greatest scientific discovery of all time if we discover God. New, more powerful telescopics have revealed mysteries about our universe, so that I've raised new questions about the origin of life. Has science discovered God? No. But wait a minute, has science proven we don't need God to explain the universe? No. Lightning, earthquake, and even babies used to be explained as an act of God. But now we know better. What is it about the discovery that is so fundamentally different, and why has it stunned the scientific world? The sophisticated coding within DNA have many scientists now admitting that the universe appears to be part of a grand design. DNA coding reveals intelligence.
Excuse me, 666, please mute.
Okay, since the dawn of the civilization, man has gazed in awe at the stars, wondering what they are and how they got there. Although on a clear night, the unaided human eye can see about 6,000 stars, Hubble and other powerful telescopes indicate there are trillions of the clustered in over 100 billion galaxies. Our sun is like one grain of sand amidst the world's beaches. However, prior to the 20th century, the majority of scientists believe our own Milky Way galaxy was the entire universe, and that the only about 100 million stars existed. Most scientists believe that our universe never had a beginning. They believe mass, space, and energy had always existed. But in the early 20th century, astronomer Edwin Hubble discovered the universe is expanding, rewinding the process mathematically. He calculated that everything in the universe, including matter, energy, space, and even time itself, actually had a beginning. The evidence of the beginning becoming overwhelming. The elephant in the room implication of a beginning is that something or someone beyond scientific investigation must have started it all. Astronomer Robert Jastrow tries to help us imagine how it all began. The picture suggested the explosion of a cosmic hydrogen bomb. The instant in which the cosmic bomb exploded marked the birth of the universe. Science is unable to tell us what or who caused the universe to begin, but some believe it clearly points to a creator. British theorist Edward Milne wrote mathematical treatise on relativity, which concluded by saying, as to the first cause of the universe in the context of expansion, that is left for the reader to insert, but our picture is incomplete without him. Another British scientist, Edmund Whittaker, attributed the beginning of our universe to divine will, to divine constituting nature from nothingness. Many scientists are struck by the parallel of a one-time creation event from nothing with the biblical creation account in Genesis 1:1. Prior to this discovery, many scientists regarded the many scientists regarded the biblical account of creation from nothing as a scientific. Although he called himself an agnostic, Jastrow was compelled by the evidence to admit now we see how the astronomical evidence leads to a biblical view of the origin of the world. Yeah?
Oscar, I think you have made a lot of claim, but
A lot of claim.
I can give you another chance to complete, but let's try to give other chance.
Scientists who used to scoff at the Bible as a book of fairy tales, are now admitting that the biblical concept of creation from nothing has been right all along. Cosmologists who specialize in the study of the universe and its origin soon realized that a chance cosmic explosion could never bring about life any more than a nuclear bomb would, unless it was precisely engineered to do so. And that meant a designer must have planned it. They began using words like a super intellect, creator, and even supreme being to describe this designer. Physics calculated that for life to exist, gravity and other forces of nature needed to be just right, or our universe couldn't exist. Had the expansion rate been slightly weaker, gravity would have been pulled all matter back into a big crunch. Stephen Hawking writes, if the rate of expansion 1 second after the Big Bang had been smaller by even 1 part in 100,000 million, the universe would have collapsed before it even reached its present size. On the flip side of the expansion rate had been mere fraction greater than it was, galaxy stars and planets could never have been formed and we would be there. And for a life to exist, the condition in our solar system and planet also need to be just right. For example, we all realize that without an atmosphere of oxygen, none of us will be able to breathe. But couldn't this fine-tuning be attributed to chance? What are the odds against human life existing by chance from a random explosion in a cosmic history? For human life to be possible from a Big Bang defies the laws of probability. One astronomer calculated the odd at less than 1 chance in a million, trillion, billion, and blah, 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 blah. It will be far easier for a blindfolded person in one trying to discover one specially marked grain of a sand out of all the beaches of the world. Another example of how unlikely it will be for a random Big Bang to produce life is one person winning over 1,000 consecutive mega $1 million lottery after purchasing only a single ticket for each. What would be your reaction to such a news? Impossible, unless it was fixed by someone behind the scene, which is what everyone would think. And that is what many scientists are concluding. Someone behind the scene designed and created the universe.
And if the claim that you have said, you have just said that we don't know, therefore God. Since they don't know, they have not discovered God, or there is no God, therefore God. That is what I can understand from your statement when I can try to summarize it. By say, because you are presented about cosmological argument, you also introduce about complexity, but you have taken too long by repeating yourself by saying certain science saying this, certain science say this, but all those things you can be able to compress them in 2 minutes, according to my understanding. So let's hear from another person. But before that, let me just give some idea about. Suppose we all go to a certain place where we don't know. We find a dead body. we don't know who the cause of the death, but one of us claim was killed by John. Another say he don't know. The one who claimed he was killed by John, he said this person was killed by John yesterday. But all the others say they don't know. They don't know the cause of the death, whether it was killed or it's natural death or was killed by maybe animals. So, but a certain person come with some clue, maybe a scientific method, and do some analysis and find this person died 2 years ago. But this person who claimed was killed yesterday by John, he continues saying he was killed. You don't have evidence who killed this person. Therefore, my answer is correct. He was killed yesterday by John because you don't present the evidence of who killed that person.
As an investigator, first you need to look for the evidence. If there's no evidence, you look for witness. And if there is a witness, why should you dispute that witness?
I find Oscar, I want to give the other chance, but I'm saying this. We are all strangers. We come to a new place we don't know. We find a dead body. One of us came. He know this dead body was killed by John yesterday. The other say they don't know. Then later we get some crew, some gadget to monitor or to do some research to know if this person died when, and we find out he died 2 years ago. But this person who claimed was killed by John yesterday, he now attacked the other people who say they don't know by telling them, do you have evidence who killed this? If you don't have evidence, then the answer is John. That is how it sounds, that argument. But let's give the other, maybe I'm wrong, but let's give other chance.
Wrong.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong.
If one witness says it's John, it's your duty to scrutinize the statement. It's your duty to find more evidence for John. And you should know that even carbonating sometimes actually goes wrong. So even if science come and try to do
you understand my statement? Do you understand my statement?
And that statement very clearly, Stano. And you are
we will come to that later. I think you don't understand my argument. Fine, let's start from Morioki.
Okay, thanks, Stano. First of all, I want to ask Oscar, just note somewhere, what you told us, I think God should be able to talk for himself. God should be able to speak for himself. How come God doesn't talk? He should be able to speak for himself. Then, Oscar, do you believe in dinosaurs?
Okay, I think I'll respond to Morioki later. Let's listen all the other people. And if there is anyone with another question for me, I'll take both of them at the same time.
Okay, fine. Let's hear from Eston.
Okay. Oscar, okay. So, let's say maybe. Let's say maybe. There is maybe. As those scientists are claiming that maybe there is a God, and you are agreeing with them. So, which God is what if there's maybe a God that created this universe that exists? Give me a concrete reason why that God is not Ngai, the one who the Kikuyu God Ngai who created the first man, Kikuyu, and the Lady Mombi, and not okay. Give me a concrete reason why it is the Bible God that created Adam and Eve as the first person, and not the Kikuyu God Ngai that created Kikuyu and Mombi. Suppose give me the reason why you think it is the Bible God and not the Kikuyu God Ngai, because there are over 4,000 gods in this planet, and you've chosen one and you ignore the rest without any concrete reason.
Okay, fine. So let's hear from Dorcas, then Deve.
Oh my goodness. Dear Christians, what do we do with you? You are beyond redemption, even though you claim that you believe in the Redeemer. The question of today is, what doesn't count as evidence of God? So you believers were supposed to present evidence, and we were supposed to tell you whether or not it counts. I can categorically state that you have not met your burden of proof. You have not presented convincing evidence that God exists. I'll begin with Charles Wandalo, who talked about morality. So according to him, morality is evidence of God. And he says that it is written in our hearts. Our ability to be moral is written in our hearts. That means that there must have been a God who put it there. Oh my, look at that giant leap that Charles Wandalo has done in coming to that conclusion. Yes, we can see some moral behavior among human beings. That is the outcome. That is what we would call the symptom. But we cannot see the cause that he's claiming, which is God. How did he jump from point A all the way to point Z? Show us your work. And in fact, I put it to him that morality is not evidence for God because you don't need God to be moral. We have observed altruistic behavior and empathy among monkeys. Monkeys don't worship or believe in God, but they show those tendencies. If you give a monkey extra bananas and the other one has fewer bananas, it will feel bad and share it with the other one. Where is God in all of that? There's no need to believe in a God there because animals don't worship God, yet they are moral. So that point is null and void, Charles Wandalo. Another point he made was creation. He said that, in fact, he used that verse from Romans, which is pejorative towards us non-believers. He was saying that if you look at creation, all of it testifies to the fact that there was a creator. But that is begging the question. He is using, Charles Wandalo is using the outcome as evidence of itself. I'll use this example. A child finds gift at the bottom of their Christmas tree. Once they find gifts down there, they assume that Santa Claus exists. We have not seen Santa Claus. There's no evidence of Santa Claus. All we have seen is the gifts. So it's the same thing with Charles Wandalo. All we see is the creation. Somebody, please, there's somebody's mic. I think that is, okay, yes, Moses. Thank you. So that's exactly what Charles Wandalo is doing. He's seeing the quote unquote creation, because it's not a creation. You're assuming that it was created. But for the sake of communication, let's use that word. He's seeing creation, but we have not seen the creator. So again, that point is null and void. The presence of gifts does not deduce that Santa Claus or Father Christmas exists. Then now let me come to Oscar, our main man, Oscar, who gave us a mini sermon for 30 minutes. You threw in a lot of arguments. And right off the bat, Oscar, I have to tell you this. No argument, no matter how elegant it is evidence of something. It's just an argument. And you can use argumentation, you can use philosophy, you can use the art of rhetoric to make black seem like white and white seem like black, but it's not evidence. So right off the bat, you have lost the test. you have failed the test, because you are bringing arrows to a gunfight. As we are asking for evidence, you are talking about arguments. But for the sake of discussion, I will indulge you and look at some of your points, some of the points that you made, some of the arguments that you put across. But please remember, they are not evidence. They are just arguments. It's just philosophy. The first argument you put across was the first cause. And you say that there must be a first cause, and that first cause is God. Once again, you've made a quantum leap, a giant leap from your premise to your conclusion. Yes, there might have been a first cause. The first cause does not have to be an intelligent being. It could be an element, like hydrogen or oxygen or whatever. It could be energy. It could be a process. It could be, it doesn't even have to be a tangible material thing. It could just be a process. Yeah. But at the moment, we don't know what caused the universe. The laws of physics break down beyond the Big Bang. We acknowledge that. And we as naturalists are humble enough to admit when we don't know. You should do the same. You don't know what caused it, but you jump to it must have been a designer, a creator, and then you go on to jump further and say it must have been your brand of a god out of the thousands of gods that have existed in human history. You claim that it is yours. Please, these somersaults, they must make you dizzy. So that argument is invalid. Another one you brought forward, I know I've spoken for long, so I'll just highlight this one and call it a day. Maybe we'll continue with others. But I would encourage Oscar, the next time he speaks, please give us evidence. Don't give us arguments. That's philosophy. It's not evidence for your God. It doesn't mean that your God exists just because you have an elegant argument. Now, the second argument you brought forward is the fine-tuning argument. You said that the universe is fine-tuned for life. And you gave us a lot of physics constants, and you said that if they changed just one bit, then we would cease to exist. All biological matter would disappear. Yes, that's well and good. But so what? What it means is that these gravitational constants or these physics constants that exist here where we live might be different in another part of the universe. We only have data for our planet and maybe our galaxy. Our instruments do not allow us to gather data in other parts of the universe. Maybe there's intelligent life in some other part of the universe, or maybe there are other universes. We can't rule that out. Yeah. And maybe in those places, they have different constants, different physics constants. And maybe their life came to be. You gave us that probability. You are like, the chance of life coming to be from the Big Bang or from those elements is sijui 1 in I don't know how many billions. But the thing is, no matter how unlikely something is, eventually it can come to pass. It's like you saying the chances of you winning the lottery are 1 in 1 billion. But eventually there will be that one person who will get the lottery. So it did happen that we got the lottery. And actually that argument is against a God who is omnipotent, who is all-powerful. Why does God have to limit himself to certain physics constants? If he was so powerful, he could create life using various constants. They would be available everywhere. Why does he have to be limited by these laws of nature? It means that he isn't all-powerful. So the fine-tuning argument in that respect, the way you have presented it, is not sufficient. It doesn't hold any water. It simply just says that if things were different, then things would be different because life would exist under different conditions. So that one is neither here nor there. Kindly, Christians, give us real evidence for your God. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorcas, for that input. Let's hear from Deve.
Thank you, Stano. Thank you, Oscar, for your long lecture or reading. If you have to read or if you have to give us a dissertation that long, you need to actually be able to know to actually know that material. So the way you present it is not only reading, but you know exactly what you are talking about. I'm just being I'm not being troublesome here. I'm just saying that it would be nice to read something from AI, but you need to know that material yourself. You need to know what those scientists found out. And while we are the scientists, or before I get to the scientists, Oscar, it would have been nice if you told us this is that you have the evidence of God from the scientists and which God and what that God is for. Because for me, I actually do not know what the use of God is. And here we are trying to find the evidence of God. So while you are giving us the evidence of God, tell us which God and what is the use of that God? Why do we need that God? So let me come to the scientists. The scientists that you are saying what they found out. Maybe while you are at the scientists, also find out that the scientists know for sure that the universe is one of the most hostile. It is hostile. We know only the universe, sorry. That the universe is hostile for life, any life, our life. And let us just start with Earth here, where we know. Forget about the stars. The stars are mainly barren. We can't live there. Let us just take the Earth here. The Earth is 75% water, and you cannot breathe underwater. So when you are saying that it is fine-tuned by a God for us, I don't know what you are talking about. And there are things on this earth that want to eat you. You go to Australia, and in Australia, everything wants to kill you. Every animal that is in Australia is trying to kill you and kill another animal. So when you say that it is fine-tuned for us, maybe we are the ones who are fine-tuned for life. You have to look at it from both sides. You can't just look at it from one way. You have to look at it from the both sides so that you are sure you have covered the both bases, because there is possibility that yes, that life is fine-tuned. I don't even know what you mean by fine-tuned for us. You have also to look at, did we in time fine-tune ourselves to suit the conditions that we found ourselves in? So for your information, the universe as it is, the whole universe that we know, is a vacuum. It's a virtual vacuum, 99%, well, 100, let's just say 100%, because everything is so far apart that it is a vacuum. And we cannot live in a vacuum. No life, our life as we know it, we cannot live under a vacuum. We need air to breathe, food to eat. So when you are saying that some God was thinking about it, I don't even know what that God was thinking about, having vacuum stars, things that actually we can't live, places where we just can't live, and there's so much space of it, so much space with no life. Or maybe that's where God lives. But anyway, next time, Oscar, please, it will help you to invite, if you invited God to come over and help you do the explanation, because you're You are not doing God or your God or whatever God. You are not doing God good, a good. You are not being a good messenger. You are not bringing whatever message that God might have asked you to bring. Or did you ask what message God wanted you to bring to us, so that we can be convinced that actually there's an evidence of God, and which God and what message that God has for us? Because if that God exists, that God has a message. So far, I don't think you've succeeded. You've only succeeded in messing, just marking up the water. But please, let us know. We want real evidence. We are skeptics, okay? Tell God that those guys are skeptics. God has got to do a bit better. Thank you.
Thank you, David. So let's give you Oscar just 5 minutes, then we give to another person.
I think I'll just need to respond to them one by one in summary, but not in a summary form. Let me try. When you try one of the Dorcas, because Dorcas was trying to attack Charles was trying to attack Charles' moral code, morality, argument of morality. So Dorcas, let me give you a short story about, I think even Juliana and David knew about this, Calvin and Hobbes. It's a famous story in America there. It was a popular newspaper cartoon a long time ago in the United States. Those American and Canadian who are here, they can confirm that. Kenya too used to have a similar one called Juakalulu. Okay, Calvin and Hobbes. One day as they were talking while walking through the woods, Calvin, the boy, announced to the Hobbes, who was the tiger, that he didn't believe in ethics anymore. As far as he was concerned, the end justified the means. Get what you can while getting the good. That's what I say. Might makes right. The winner writes the history books. It's a dog eat dog world. So I will do whatever I have to and let others argue about whether it is right or wrong. At that moment, Hobbes, the tiger, pushes Calvin the boy into a mud deep hole. Calvin boy yells, "Hey, why did you do that?" Hobbes reply innocently, "You were in my way, but now you're not. The end justifies the means." Calvin reply, "I didn't mean for everyone, you dolt, just me." That's how humans are self-first. We want freedom to do what we want, but we don't want others to have that freedom, especially when it impacted us negatively. That's why we need the Bible. The Bible gives us a moral standard which are necessary if we are to go get along with each other. If it were not for God and the Bible, it's hard to tell how far civilization might be degenerated. For everyone looks out for himself, the law of the jungle becomes the law of the land, the survival of the fittest. As the people willingly look out for one another, can civilize advance. When Jesus said, "Do unto others as you would like others does to you," in Luke 6:31, he voiced one of the most profound single sentences in the history of humanity. With the acceptance of that, many of the humanity's greatest problems will disappear. Even atheists can agree with that. And I dare you to prove me wrong on that Jesus quote. If there is no God, then all things are permissible. Now, there were so many questions. Let me go to El Maestro, who was asking about why not Kikuyu God Ngai and the Supreme God, our God. What I can say to El Maestro, in every claim, you have to look for certain quality, logical consistency. If that claim, does it make logical, and that logical, is it consistency? Empirical advocacy, can it be verified empirically and experiential relevant? Can you experience it? So if you want to compare Ngai, which is a theory, I don't know whether it is okay. It doesn't that thing those doesn't exist. Those were just story that our great grandparents used to give us. For example, if you come to Kenya, in every tribe used to have some laws or some nini to guide the people, but all these rules and nini were only just to protect society. For example, in Luo, you can be told, don't build the house before your elder brother built. These were meant only for the respect. But nowadays, in today's generation, even younger brother built before the elder brother did it, and there's nothing absolutely happened. We used to be told that we should not broom our houses at night. These were parents were trying to protect us, because at night when you are trying to clean the house with the broom, you might clean something important, either money or what. So much of such a story of this Ngai Nini Ishiro's 9 daughter, these were just historical that were meant only just to make the society happy and give them hope at that time. Those were not real. The real God is Jesus Christ, and he was here. The one that Ndeve is keep on asking, where is God? Where is God? Where is God? Another question was from who?
I had asked you if that if this is how God would like you to present. Did you ask God whether this is the way you would present the evidence in front of skeptics? Do you think that is the message that God gave you to us, to how to present God's evidence to us?
That's a very good question, Ndeve, and that's why I normally try to struggle each and every day how I can produce you evidence. I normally try to do research. I normally try to come up with ideas how I can be able to convince atheists and give them a very clear evidence. But today was just, I could say that it was just a 40% attempt, but I was stopped on my way. Because if Stano would have left me to finish my statement, and now again try to go a little bit deeper on history and present you God, it will have been very perfect for you people to consume that. But Stano stopped me, and you all see, and you are here. And what I could say is, me, it is not the best, but I could just compare myself with percentage. I would say that's the 30%. But I am keep on improving each and every day. I'm keep on trying to do research. I'm trying to make a one document at an intellectual level, not at the religious level, biblical level, at intellectual level and science level, who try to argue on the foundation of atheists, because they normally believe in intellectual level and the science level. That's why I came to notice that on my research and dealing with you people, the only way I can be able to convince you and present you for your evidence is at the science level, at that intellectual level. That's why I'm still doing research. I was trying to make a document, but trying to come up with a website, trying to come up with a video that will be able to present our case of God in a very manner way.
Okay, fine, Oscar. So let's hear from Moses Kamau. But before that, I may also answer the way you answer the Eston. I can also just say that I can answer about the Bible. Bible in the Corinthian Paul came, people are weak and some die because of eating Holy Communion in a way that is not expected. So that is why the people were becoming weak, other become very sick, and the other died. That is what the Paul said. But today, that is in Corinthian. In Corinthian, in fact, I was even preaching those things during when I'm giving the Holy Communion. So those are the verses written by the Paul, although it's just a claim. So, but today we find even me, I can go and eat anyhow, and nothing will happen to me. Does that prove the same way you have proved to Eston about the Quail and the Moby?
Gekoya and Mombi, those are fairy tales, and you know very well. It doesn't have logical consistency. There is no empirical advocacy. There is no experiential relevance. There is no a single evidence or witness for Gekoyo and Mombi, and you know it that very well.
Let's hear from Moses Kamau.
So thank you for the time. I appreciate. So I've been traveling. I was in a flight. I was determined to join, and I'm happy that I've joined. I've listened to Oscar. I don't know. I'm not sure Oscar, and I know Dorcas spoke, and there's the other lady who spoke. I'm sorry, I forgot. I didn't get your name. I don't think Oscar appreciates that we are skeptics. You know, Oscar comes from a point where he believes in his Bible, and that becomes his standard. So he lives a life where he works backwards. The Bible is true, and all he does is find evidence to prove it. That's deductive reason. It's not inductive. You don't.
Her name is Ndebe.
Sorry?
Her name is Ndebe.
Endeavor, yes, Endeavor. Thank you. Yes. So I don't think, you know, and I can hear Endeavor struggling to ask Oscar about skepticism. I don't think he appreciates that we are skeptics. He starts from a standpoint where he believes is true, and then he works backwards. So when he says he's researching to prove that what he believes is true. I was a strong Christian. I've been to Bible school. I think I probably, I was an associate pastor for many years. And it took me a long time for me to begin to deconstruct. And what made me deconstruct was when I was challenged on very basic history. You know, he's so quick to dismiss everything else as stories. And I used to do the same. But when you look at basic things like geology and evolution, the whole Adam and Eve crumbles. The whole story of creation crumbles. When you look at this, absolutely no evidence for Noah's Ark or the flood. No evidence for Israelites being in Egypt. No evidence for Exodus. What else do you want, Oscar? Because if you're honest, at least say that you have read the material that is peer-reviewed by scientists and historians that shows us those are also stories. The same way you're quick to dismiss Gekoyo and Mobi and other African tales, you're so quick to dismiss them, but you're determined not to dismiss yours. Yes, yet there is documented evidence. You've heard of liberal Christians who have accepted the science. In 1984-85, the Catholic Church accepted evolution. Today we have very strong Christians who are evolutionary biologists and are Christians. And they've accepted that evolution is true and that the story of creation is an allegory, is mythical.
Can I ask you a question?
Evidence. What do you mean when you say that you're looking for empirical evidence? Why are you ignoring what even Christians, historians who are Christians today have accepted? That's really is contrary to what the Bible claims. There is no evidence of a historical Abraham. There is no evidence of who wrote the Torah. Even the Jews themselves are no longer accepting the Torah as having been written by one author, Moses. There is no evidence of that. The Jews themselves, you've been left stuck with the Bible believing it, yet the actual writers, the Jews, the Hebrews, have now accepted. There is no evidence of Canaan, I mean, I don't know how far back you want to go. I don't know. I don't understand why. The other thing I want to...
Come on, ask your question.
ask,
Hello?
please
Okay.
note that I'm a skeptic when you're asking. So ask as objectively as you can. And remember, I'm also a Bible scholar. I'm now an atheist who is a Bible scholar. So I'm a scholar. Like I now study the historical context of the Bible, not just I'm not looking at it as a believer anymore. I'm now more objective. So ask knowing that.
Wow, I'm so glad that I'm surrounded with knowledge. So I'm going to ask you, I don't need even to ask you a question from the Bible. I'm just going to ask you a question from your argument, from your strong
I've not made an argument. I have
argument.
just
Can
okay. Yeah, just ask.
give me
Okay.
evidence?
Sorry.
Can I proceed?
Proceed. Yes, proceed.
Oscar.
No,
Yeah.
let him ask.
Let Moses come out in it. Then I will give you a chance just to respond for just 1 minute before we go to other. So I will not leave you hanging. You will have to answer.
So you're also committing a lot of logical fallacies, and I could hear Dorcas also struggling with this, trying to make you. I don't think you would appreciate that we are skeptics and critical thinkers. The Bible is a claim, is not evidence. I don't know. Do you know the difference between inductive and deductive reasoning, or abductive? Do you have? You keep saying you have researched. You have. You're so biased. Do you know what cognitive dissonance is? Where you're holding two different thoughts, they are so conflicted, but you're focusing on one and ignoring the other. I mean, I don't know what to say. Maybe you should just ask me your question. But my final comment is this: please allow us to come to your because you see, as skeptics, we are inherently diverse. That means we allow people to come here and tell us what they think. But you're not. And I don't think you have integrity. If you really have integrity, allow us into your circles of Christians to come and discredit their Bible. What you're doing is you're coming here to preach to us, and which is very wrong, which is even rude, because you forget we are skeptics. So telling us about Jesus, who we already have rejected, and you keep quoting from the Bible, keep preaching, is not even right. What you should be doing is arguing objectively, not preaching to us. So if you're honest, allow me, Moses, into one of your Christian circles, and let me come and tell you what I've just told you, that there is no evidence for Moses, no evidence for Abraham. I even show you all the his. Have you ever heard of Professor Bart Ehrman? I mean, there's so much to say. Let me just stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Moses. So, Oscar, I want you to have more time to speak because you are only the guest here. So just respond in 1 minute, then we go to the next. I will be giving you a chance, don't be interfering. So it's your chance now.
Okay, so before Kamau go far, I just wanted to ask him one question from his argument, which I think is a very strong argument. If he can give us evidence of one evolution, one animal that has turned into another animal, or any fruit that has changed into another fruit, I think today will be an atheist.
Okay, Oscar, I mean, it's laughable. Tell us what you know about evolution. What you're doing is called, again, it's a fallacy. It's a straw man. What you're doing is you're displaying your ignorance of what evolution is.
Sorry,
do you know what evolution is?
No, Moses.
Because the way he's asking the question.
I need to interrupt here. To interrupt here. Here, I don't think. Let's assume in our debate today is whether there is actual evidence for God, not about the science. We are not scientists. We are not advocating for science. If the science come with a claim, when they claim they can make a car, it's not our concern. If they manage to make a car, good thing. If they don't manage to make a car, it's bad luck for them. So we are not here to advocate for science. because we are not scientists, we only accept the evidence. If the scientists come up with a car or with an aeroplane, we accept that. So you don't try to fight science, Oscar. Science, you have their own claim, and if we need to have the evidence of their claim, we will ask them, just the way I can ask them about the claim whether they are scar. If you claim, give the evidence. Don't attack by saying the other people say. So what science say is not our concern. Our concern is, do you really have tangible or solid evidence or any empirical evidence, not only can be empirical evidence that we can evaluate and see a certain basis evidence without attacking science.
I hereby, for the sake of argument, concede that evolution is not true. I concede. For the sake of this argument, evolution is a lie and the scientists are deceived.
Moses.
I concede. No, let's continue, Oscar.
Moses.
So now give us evidence. You give us evidence. The claim is on you because we have conceded. I think you have made, again, it's an argument from incredulity that evolution doesn't make sense. However, that's fine. And I'm playing along. Evolution is not true. It's a lie. So now you give us. So look, just because evolution is not true does not mean that creation is right by default. You have to provide us evidence that creation is right. You have not provided any evidence, and Dorcas even challenged you. Where is your evidence? You cannot say because evolution is not true, then by default creation is right, is now true. So now provide us with evidence. I agree, evolution is not right. Now go provide us evidence for creation.
Okay. First, before I proceed, I want to be clear. I'm not fighting science and I'm not arguing against science. Science, it has helped us in many ways. It has helped us to climb many hills. Science, in fact, now we are being able to communicate because of science. Science has helped us to do so many wonderful things. I'm not fighting science. But the things that others usually get it wrong, they think that science is against Bible. Science is against God.
That is not true. Provide evidence that science is against the Bible or against God. That's a claim that requires you to provide evidence. You can't just claim it.
It's not a claim
that scientists are seated somewhere and all they do is that they are trying to fight God. Because you've made that's a very serious claim. You need to show evidence, otherwise it's just a claim.
All atheist arguments are being based on science. That because we don't have God, because science can do this. We don't have God because science has do this. We don't have because science has discovered this. We don't know
that is not true. Oscar, that is not true. Atheists don't start from the premise that because God does not exist. We follow the evidence. Nobody is sitting to say because God, we follow the evidence. It's you who has to start with that God premise. We don't. So again, you have to, when you make that claim, you must show us evidence that we are seated somewhere. And what is driving us is just to go against God. That is not true. You were making the claim. So give us the evidence that that's what we do. Because you're just making a claim. You keep claiming. You keep claiming. Don't just claim. Show us that that's what we actually do. Give us something to work with. We even ask you want to correct it. If that's indeed true, then that's wrong. So show us something that we can use to correct it. Otherwise, I put it to you that we don't care whether God, we don't care. God doesn't exist, so we don't care about that. So what do? We follow the evidence where it leads us. It's not about whether God exists. We just follow the evidence. But you're claiming that we don't do that objectively. What we do is that we start from the premise that we need to attack God. That's a claim you're making. So you need to show us that that's what we actually do instead of just saying it.
You know, now you have been attacking the Bible ever since that's not truth. The Moses never exists, Abraham never exists. But if you know, there's a reason.
It is not an attack. Give me your email address or your link. I will send you all the peer-reviewed historical documents by historians. Then you go and critique them. It is not me. It's not atheist.
It's over now.
No. The other chance. It's not fair that Oscar is not answering questions. He should talk about him. He should not say atheists are saying. He should give us evidence of what he's claiming, instead of coming back to, he keeps talking about what atheists are doing wrong, instead of saying what he believes. So if he believes God exists, as Dorcas asked him, give us the evidence. Don't, when we push you that you make the claim, the person who makes the claim provides the evidence. So if I came to you and told you that I have a red and green purple cat in my closet, you can't, it's up to me. You can't, I can't, if you say that that's not true, I can't tell you, show me that that's not true. It's up to me who makes the claim to show the evidence. It is not me pushing everybody around telling them, you guys don't like me, or you don't like my cat, so you guys don't like, I can't keep making it about others. So I make the claim and show the evidence. Stop talking about atheists. Give us your evidence.
You
Okay,
see,
fine.
the Bible,
Oscar, just that 15 seconds, then we go to the other. I don't want to have just two people conversation.
What I want to say is something about the Bible, which Moses has been attacking the Bible since he started speaking. The Bible has been under severe attack, and the confidence of many Christians and sympathizers of Christianity has been needlessly shaken. Because while no book has ever been written has been attacked as viciously for as long as and by many brilliant minds as the Bible has. And yet, the Bible, it has proven to be indestructible. It has an anvil.
Come on. Sorry, I have to interrupt you. Bhagavad Gita is older than the Bible, is older than the Bible, has been more preserved. Chinese writings are older than the Bible, and they are more accurate in the scientific. Egyptians' writings are older than the Bible, and yet they are attacked every day. I mean, you just check. All old writings are attacked. All of them. They are always attack. If you mean attack is critiquing.
This conversation will be better, Moses.
Even
if you
Hinduism
let,
religion is 3,000 years old than Christianity.
you let someone to finish their statement, then you come in the statement, then someone. That's how conversation usually goes. You cannot stop, even in a court of law, even if you hate someone. Just begin.
Fine. Oscar.
Yeah.
Moses have claimed that we don't have evidence for the Israel being saved in Egypt, and he also claimed that we don't have evidence Moses existed. Do you have any evidence about that? Just tell us allowed 10 seconds.
Okay, if Moses will allow me to speak, because the moment I start two statements, Moses has, for Christ's sake, even when hata kama shetani yako anashika kichwa anajiuliza, who is this Moses? You are doing more dirty work than the devil. Angalia, my evidence for Moses existed.
Give us, tell us whether there is evidence, and if you can be able to just mention and take the shortest time, please.
Yeah, my evidence for the existence of Moses, Abraham, it is the Jews, the current Israelites in the land of Israel, because these people originated from Abraham. If you read the Bible, all civilization began before Abraham. Then from Abraham, from his generation, that's where these nations came from. The Israelites, that's where they came from. That's why God preserving them, no matter what.
Okay,
How many superpower?
Oscar.
Yes.
Please, you will allow me to interrupt here. Our evidence for Gikuyu and the Mombi existence was created in Mount Kenya is because Kikuyu exist and we still hold those mythology of Kikuyu. That is evidence enough that Kikuyu and the Mombi existence and were created at Mount Kenya and were given 9 daughters, and then 9 men came from heaven to marry them. Is that a good evidence? Because Israel hold that image about Abraham does not mean it is true. You must have evidence apart from what the tribe believe in. Because even as Kikuyu believe about the Mobi and the Gekoyo and the 9 daughters, is that evidence? So Do you have any other evidence apart from what you have seen? Because what you have seen is similar to my Kikuyu culture. Oscar, you can think about that. Let's go to other. Who is next?
Yes, it's Morioki, then El Maestro, then me.
Okay, fine. Morioki?
Okay, so thanks, Tano. So Oscar, just note this question down, Oscar, note this. So I want you to explain to me extinct animals, because scientists have found fossils of extinct animals. So explain why God made animals and then they all go extinct. Then two, explain why we've had 2 world wars. There have been 2 world wars under the eyes of God. Then explain why we have male cats, male dogs, female dogs, because Adam was lonely. So God gave him a woman, a companion, because he was lonely. So, but we have male lions, female lions. So I don't get how God made Eve for Adam, yet we have most animals have male and female. So just explain that to me, Oscar. We have male, female for all animals, not just human beings. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we are going now to Eston, then sorry.
You, Stano, there's something I wanted to say first. Oscar, remember this Hinduism. The Hinduism religion is older than the Christian religion and the Jewish religion. Hinduism is 3,000 years older than the Jewish and the Christian religion. It is 3,000 years older than the Bible. Secondly, Oscar, when you are quick to dismiss the Kikuyu God guy, I was literally laughing when you are dismissing. You mean to say that you are dismissing the Hindu, the Kikuyu, the Kikuyu religion, of not the Kikuyu, not the religion, but the Kikuyu creation story, because it was told it was told to the kids when the same Jewish religion, the Jewish stories, they also told, they are also being told to the creation story in the Bible. It was also being told to the people of the Jews. And secondly, remember that you also said here that I don't know what this evidence of Moses, and I don't know the evidence of Moses being Moses and the Israelites who went to, don't know, from Egypt to Exodus. I don't know the evidence is that the Jews are still who are still living now. Remember that those same Jews who live in Israel don't believe in Jesus. 85% of the Jews don't believe in the they don't believe in the New Testament. They only believe in the Old Testament. They rejected Jesus. They don't believe in Jesus. They are still waiting for the Jesus that was prophesied in the Old Testament. 85% of Israel are not Christians. In fact, there are more Muslims than Christians in Israel. Israel is measured, it's 85% Jews, about 10% Muslims, and the rest are Christians and other minor religions. So before you cling on to those Jews, remember those Jews don't have the same beliefs as you. Those Jews, they only believe in the Old Testament, not the New Testament. Okay, I'll stop there for now.
So, is there anyone speaking, or should I speak a little bit?
I think what I want now, I am going to change the kind of debate now. But before that, I will give Soitan just 2 minutes to give you a view, then Oscar to respond within 2 minutes or 1 minute. Then after that, we are going to tackle the major claim before we finish, because I think we have around 30 to 40 minutes to finish our discussion. So we are going now, after that, we are going to major topic that the deist represent. We are going to deal with cosmological, as the first. After cosmological argument, we are going to deal with ontological. And those are a part of the evidence.
Actually, I don't even think, Stano, it is ontological, because the ontological argument is the one of imagining. If you can imagine that a supreme being exists, then it exists. That's the ontological argument. The teleological argument is the one from complexity. So I think you mean teleological and cosmological. Cosmological refers to the beginning of the cosmos of the universe. So maybe other people can discuss them, but personally, when it's my turn, the next time to speak, I would like to address some of those things like miracle claims or Jesus coming to earth to live with people. I think those would be more interesting and slightly different in that they're not just arguments, but they are purported proofs. So now let me give my contribution. Of course, we are still responding to Oscar, and we laud you, Oscar, for your bravery. You got in the lion's den. I don't know whether you will be able to come out like Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, or whether you've been consumed by these carnivores we call skeptics. Now, point number one is regarding morality. You rebutted my point. So I would like to rebut your rebuttal. There's somebody who's unmuted. It's you, Oscar. Please mute. It's background noise. Yeah. So Oscar gave the anecdote of somebody who was selfish, who didn't want to live according to moral values because the end justifies the means. And I believe maybe the moral of that story was that non-believers don't have morals. I don't know if that was the point of the story. Or another point could be that humans are inherently evil. And I think that is a narrative peddled by many Christians. They believe because of the fall of man in the Garden of Eden, that the rest of humanity is just inherently evil and they're entirely helpless unless they believe in Jesus. And that's when they'll be redeemed. But I think that is skewed. It's not accurate. Yes, human beings have the capacity for evil, but we are actually inherently moral. We are moral because we have to be moral for survival. That's the reason why we are moral. It's not because of God. It's because we need it to survive. As social creatures, if you come together and you start killing each other, you will be destroyed. You'll stop existing. So in order for you to survive, you decide to make this moral law that we will not kill each other. Or in order for you to thrive, in order for enterprise to flourish, then you don't steal from each other. You respect people's property. So you come up with that law, you make a social consensus, and it governs your conduct. You do it for survival. It is for purely utilitarian reasons. You have smuggled your God into it when it is totally unnecessary. That's what I had to say on your moral argument. Point number two is regarding your dismissal of the other gods, especially the African gods. In fact, this shows me how indoctrinated you are. Please check out our channel on whether Jesus is an African, or whether Jesus, the belief in Jesus is an African. Check out our channel on that. We covered this very deeply. And we came to the conclusion that a Black man or woman is actually lost when they follow a white God, when they worship a white God. Because the way you get to believe in the biblical God is the same way the Kikuyus got to believe in their God Ngai, or the Maasais believed in Enkai, or all the other gods we know, all the other traditional gods we know. They use the same method. And what is that same method? Faith, where you a priori, before you just believe something, even though you haven't been given evidence. You just use conviction, spiritual conviction, they call it. You just believe. So with faith, you can believe anything. You can believe that cows have 10 heads and that becomes your God. So it's the same thing even with the Christian God. The only difference is it doesn't have physical properties like some of the other gods from tribal communities. So for your God, you call him invincible, but at the end of the day, you need faith to believe in him. So it is totally indistinguishable. Your belief system and that of the Africans is totally indistinguishable. Then you also mentioned things like you have to, the reason why Yahweh is different from these other African gods is that he has empirical support, he has logical consistency, and there's experiential evidence. Oh my gosh. Did you actually mean the opposite? There is nothing among those three things which you stated which Yahweh God fulfills. It's not logical. The belief in God is not logical, going by the stories in the Bible of talking snakes and donkeys and God creating day and night and then creating the sun and the moon later. So it's like he created day and night twice, then him creating plants, then creating the sun. So how are the plants surviving? It's totally illogical. It goes against what we know now to be true. It's not logical. It's not empirical. You're saying that there were witnesses. Which witnesses were these? The book of Genesis is claimed to be authored by Moses. Actually, the first 5 books of the Bible are claimed to be authored by Moses, but somewhere in there, is it Exodus, Moses dies. So how can you die and you continue writing other stories after your death? It doesn't have any witnesses. Those are just, they are unknown. Those are just claims. Those are fables. It's mythical. There's nothing special about it. You've just been indoctrinated by the colonialists and the missionaries that brought this brand of belief to our continent. Lastly, I know I was given 2 minutes, but I just had to get this out. Lastly, you mentioned the Bible and you are using its attacks as a testament to its strength. That has never been the case. And I think Eston and Moses told you so, that many ancient texts have been attacked. So that isn't proof. And then you also talked about how people came from Abraham and that lineage, but that's inaccurate. It's inaccurate because the earliest human fossil, the earliest one, was from East Africa. It was not from the Middle East. So if we go by the claim made in the Bible that Genesis, what Genesis says that Adam and Eve were the first man and woman, then we should find the first fossils in the Middle East, where Israel is at the moment. But that's not the case. We found it in East Africa. And we also know of the age of the earth. It is several millions of years old, while if you calculate the earth as told from the age of the earth as told from the Bible, from the book of Genesis, and you do a genealogy of all the characters, you find that the earth is only 6,000 years old. And many more examples prove that the Bible is illogical, it's unscientific, it's unreliable. You cannot use it as evidence for God. Thank you.
Okay, fine. So I think about that, I may add what Dorcas you are saying. The Bible, inside the Bible, the book called the Bible, it claimed that there were 1,000 witnesses who witnessed Jesus arising from the dead and going to the cloud or going to the heaven. That is the Bible that says. It's not the evidence from outside the book. It's like me, I write a medical story in a certain book. Then I claim inside the same book, I say there was millions witnesses who saw Jack Brown flying with a flying horse or a flying donkey. So, and in that book I write, there is many millions witnesses who saw that thing happening. So that is not a evidence. It's just a book claiming on its own. I need to provide evidence outside the book, but not writing inside the book that this is true because it was witnessed inside the same book. So let's hear from Morioki. Then Oscar, you can respond.
Yeah, I was confirming. Oscar, do you remember what I asked you? Oscar, do you remember the questions I asked you? Just confirming. Oscar,
yeah, I may say you ask about how come the God created only Adam without creating a wife, but the other animal he created male and female. But for human being, he only created male, but later remember or decided to create for a woman.
Yeah, true.
So
Thank
Oscar,
you.
I think you can answer that. You are not audible, or we can proceed. I think as we wait, Oscar, let's proceed to other topic. And thank you, Soita, for correcting me. It's not ontological, it's terror. That one is very difficult for me to pronounce. Theological argument about the complexity. So Oscar claimed that, or not only the Oscar, but from William Crane and among other Christian apologists, they claim that complex being can only come from a more complex being. Do you think that argument is good enough? For example, a phone is, or a computer is very complex. It needs a person who is greater or more complex or have a greater brain that can be able to construct a phone or to make a phone, manufacture a phone or a computer. Do you think that argument is good enough for a proof there must be something that is more intelligent and more complex that resulted to the universe or more intelligent? Morioki?
Yeah, thanks. I think, like David said, the universe is very dangerous. All these things in the universe are dangerous. Like David said, even the sun is very dangerous. It's not a good thing because it has so much power. In fact, the earth is just lucky apart from it. But the sun it even causes drought. It's dangerous. So there's nothing to say that the universe was designed by somebody, because the sun, the rain, they all cause chaos one way or another. Even lightning, thunder, they're all chaotic. So I don't see any type of design from intelligent design from anyone. Thanks.
Okay, fine. That is the fine-tuning argument. And the fine-tuning argument, yes, because the world is chaotic. We have all kind of the disease, cancers, whatever, earthquake, those natural disasters. So that does not mean God did not create the universe. It is only the mean that if God created the universe, he did not create it the way in a perfect way. That is why it's chaotic. So, but still there is no evidence God created the universe. And that evidence is the one that we are looking for. And we are asking whether about the complexity is a good argument for God. So, Deve or Soita?
When we talk about complexity, are we talking, like, for example, space? Because for me, the universe is just about huge bodies. They're just huge. They are not complex. They're just huge and lots of them. So I don't think they're not complex. They are just bodies that are out there. They are not doing anything. They're just going round and round and round. Some have clouds. Hello. Yeah.
Let's try to assume that by saying the universe is complex in such a way that the sun, the earth is rotating and is also revolving around the sun, and it has never increased in speed or reduced in speed, and also our solar system is going around our galaxy, and the galaxy is going around the other galaxy. So that complexity, and they don't change the direction or whatever, that complexity is just the way the watch does. How can we argue about that? Let's assume about that.
Okay. I would say that that is in the momentum from the word go. So they are still going on with that momentum and with your gravitational attraction of big bodies. They do that because of their sizes. So I cannot say that is that is a part of a design. It is just momentum is momentum. It's going to you're going to be keep on. If you are big enough and there is another big body near you, you're going to keep on going around that body. But it is not that momentum definitely decreases. It doesn't increase. It's going to decrease unless you go closer to that body, in which case you're going to collide with that body and you are done. There doesn't really seem to be any reason or rhyme to show a design, to show a purpose. And also remember, we do not have any other universe to compare that is out there, outside of ourselves, and we can say, that does not work like ours. We can say that, that planet doesn't work like ours, but we are still in the same universe with them. We are still, maybe we're in the Milky Way with them. If we are not in the Milky Way with them, we're in the universe with them. So we do not have something outside of the universe. We don't know what is outside the universe, if there's something outside the universe, to compare. Some of these things we actually do not have any other thing to compare ourselves with. We do not have other beings in another universe to compare ourselves with, how they live, how they look like, what kind of atmosphere they survive under. So all those things just show randomness. They just show a randomness, not a fine-tuning, not a plan, not a campango somewhere. It is just, to me, it just shows a randomness of a huge big bang that happened, and we are still on that randomness. We are still moving under that that random act. Thank you. The Oscar, maybe Oscar has another thing that says no. This is not random. This is planned. Thanks.
Deve, still you have something to add. I want you to add something about the complexity of the animals and the human beings. The way our kidney are foot, heart, whatever, those complexity things. Is there any intelligence behind that? And how can you say, if there is intelligence, how can you say about that intelligence? There is intelligence to that intelligence of intelligence, and so on?
If I'm going to use anatomy 101 because I'm not a doctor. I missed that path a long time ago. But if you looked at the design of our bodies, and we have just one heart, it is the most important pump that we have in the body, and we have just one of them. You can live with one kidney, but we can't live without the heart. You can live have a liver, but you can't live without a heart. But we have just one heart. What kind of design is that? What kind of design is that? So No, it is not a. It's not a good design. That when you look at the body, you will find that no, it is not a good design. If it is a design, so that is why I'm saying it is just a random. It's a random. It's a random happening. In fact, the giraffe has one nerve that moves all the way from the brain, passes near the heart, and comes right back. Which if it were designed, nobody would design it that way. They would just go straight from the head and to the point where it is trying to. It goes right through the neck, passes the heart, and then comes right back. Nobody designs something like that because there are so many things that can go wrong with a design that takes a detour and an unnecessary detour, particularly in the body or particularly near the neck or near the heart, where any number of things can go wrong. So no, there is no sign of an intelligent design. There's just a sign of things randomly bettering themselves over and over or over a long period. Things just keeping on working on those over a long period. And the reason that Oscar was saying that he has not seen another animal turning into another animal is he forgets that we're here, humans, for only 70 years. And since Christ, it has only been 2,000 years. But for evolution, we are talking about billions of years. And that is a very big figure in number of years because our life is so short. When we are talking about billions of years, it is a long, we have to first of all appreciate that is a very long time. If we come back a billion years from now, we're not going to recognize the humans who will be here. We're not going to recognize the animals. We're not even going to recognize the earth as it will be 2, 3, 4 billion years from now. The sun will be different, and therefore the earth will also be different. So when we're talking about that amount of time, we have to appreciate what will have happened or what happened in that long kind of time frame that we are talking about. We have to understand that we actually might not be able to appreciate that duration of time and what changes would have happened in that duration of time. Thank you.
Okay, fine. About the evolution, I think there is overwhelming evidence because there is some animal or organism that are able to evolve within a few minutes or within an hour. And some more complex can evolve within one day. Some can take 2 months. But for us human, we might take thousands or millions of years. But if there is some organism that the science are able to observe them changing from one form to another or to a totally different kind of animal or species. So there is some evidence about that. It's only that the more complex we are, the longer time we take as the way David you have seen. So about the complex, for me, I may say like this: if something is complex, it must need to be designed. What is the nature of that design, that complex thing? If we assume the complex was designed, it means the thing that designed that complex thing must be either more complex or more intelligent than the thing that have been complex. So using the same argument, it means that even that complex thing that made this complex, it must be made by another more complex. And that will go to infinity. So that means that argument is just an answer because does not give any evidence. Even the logical argument does not give us to finite answer, but it only gives to eternity, only gives to it leads us to infinity without giving us the answer. So what the religious people do is to stop, to make sure or to force the argument to stop where they want, instead of allowing the logic to lead them. So let's hear from Soita.
All right, and the lights are back. I don't know whether they're back where you guys are, but here they're back. I'm glad. At least I'll be able to prepare my presentation for tomorrow. I was panicking. But still, it would be great if we tried to summarize, because people are tapering off. I'm noticing we're becoming fewer and fewer. So let me lead, before I answer your question, Stano, let me lead with a question to the members. What would they say to a Christian who purports that they have a personal encounter with Jesus, or that the person of Jesus Christ, that a God would leave heaven and come to earth as a human being, that is evidence for God? What would you tell them? How would you respond to that assertion? So as you think about it, hopefully it will be the last one, because wakati unayoyoma and people are leaving the meeting. Your question on the teleological argument, the argument from complexity. It is often used in tandem with the watchmaker analogy, that every watch must have a watchmaker, or every writing on a sandy beach must have a writer. Everything that shows some semblance of complexity must have a designer. That's what they say. Now, here are my answers to that question. It is not evidence of a God, and specifically the biblical God, because that's the one we often encounter here in Kenya. The first reason why it's not evidence is because it does not demonstrate God doing it. Show your work. Show your work. Show us how God created the human being. Show us, let us see with our eyes, let us observe it. Let us observe God creating man. Let us observe God creating animals. Let us observe him creating bacteria and all the other creatures on earth and beyond. We have not observed it. It's not self-evident. It's just a story written in a holy text. Number two is that these people are special pleading for their God. They're actually engaging in the special pleading fallacy, because as you've rightfully said, Stano, if a watch needs a designer because of its complexity, then the designer of the watch, who in this case is usually a human being designs the watch. The human being is even more complex than the watch they have created. Similarly, if humans were created by a God, then the God is even more complex. And if God created human beings, then who created God? Because if the reasoning is that every complex thing requires a designer, then who designed God? They need to answer that question. If Oscar was here, he should have answered that question. Often, I can already predict how he would have answered it. He would have said, oh, God is the causeless cause. God is unique in this respect. He doesn't need to be created. But if he says that, then I would respond that if you can special plead for God, if that law of complexity stops at God, then we can also stop it at the universe. We can just say that the universe was as it was. Another response I would give them is that their justification only works for a brand of theism which we call deism, a God that doesn't intervene in the goings-on of humanity. It would only justify that kind of God, because the universe as it is currently does not have a detectable God. How do we get to their brand of faith? In fact, if you go back to the watch analogy, every watchmaker puts a mark on their product, on their design. They also send they make it possible for you to decipher their identity. Yeah, if you look at their mark, you can say that this is made from Swiss, and then if you look at the code, you can be able to backtrack and find the factory where the watch was made. Likewise, if it is God who made this complex universe or complex human beings, then he should have left his mark on the product, and he should actually be communicating. He should make it possible for us to reach him, just the way the watchmaker makes it possible for you to know that is the one who made the watch. But that's not the case. God is hiding. Why is he playing hide and seek? He's the reigning champion of the universe hide and seek games. So God has not left any clue as to how to find him. So no, complexity is not evidence for a God. Complexity only creates further complexity, and it requires you to answer who created or who designed God. So if members can answer my question, I'd really be happy. The question is, if a Christian tells you that they have a personal experience with Jesus, or the fact that Jesus came from heaven to live on earth as a human being, that is evidence for God, how would you respond? Thank you.
Okay, fine. Can see Juliana have joined us. So about that question, it's like somebody saying, I have a personal relationship with the donkey with the forehead. So you see me as I'm a mad person. Because if it's something I'm claiming, I have those emotions. It's just an emotion that is learning in our brain. So when somebody say you have Jesus Christ, or he feel as if that there is inner being that is speaking to him or to her, for me, I will just understand it's just the emotion. Because whatever you are thinking is even you don't dream like that. For example, if you are praying maybe like Purutembo, when you are alone, you don't be feeling as if you are praying that Purutembo, or you are playing football. When you are idle, you don't feel as if you are still playing the football, even inside your dream. So that is what happened. So because they only believe about those Jesus and whatever, they may feel as if Jesus is speaking to them in their mind, because that is what they are experiencing in their beliefs. So for me, I will understand. I will not call them mad people. I will understand how our brain works, because even me, sometimes I may feel as if I'm driving the car when I'm just sitting, because that is what I have been used to do. Yeah. Morioki?
Okay, thanks, Tano. I think Dorcas, remember in the group, me, I am Antichrist. I don't believe Jesus existed. In fact, it's only me and AKA who say he never existed. But in our group, most people say Jesus existed. Me, I don't believe he existed. So for that question, me, I'm like, there's no proof he even existed. Then also, if they say they have experienced Jesus, can they prove it's not a delusion? How can they prove it's not delusional? That's what I would ask them. Give evidence. You're not hallucinating or having a delusion. Then also, Stano, if the earth goes around the sun, so what? The earth goes around the sun, it means nothing. So what? So what? Thanks.
Okay, fine. Yeah, I'm also saying if somebody saying that you have a personal relationship with Jesus, I will just say, yes, you have personal relationship with Jesus, but how do I know you are not lying to me? And how can you prove you have that? If you cannot, that is you, not me. Tell him or her to come and prove to me, for me to have the personal experience with him or her. So, Dorcas, and we are about to end our meeting.
Yes, indeed. Let me make my final contribution as I answer that question. If somebody told me that, first of all, they have a personal relationship with Jesus, I would ask them, how do you know that? In what ways? In what ways do you have a personal relationship with Jesus? Sometimes they'll tell you that they have experienced the Holy Spirit. They've had inner joy, ecstasy. Some of them have fallen over, some have spoken in tongues. That can be one example. Other examples include the fact that the person stopped drinking or they stopped doing crime, and it was because they gave their life to Christ. Now, on the latter, if somebody shows a change in behavior, I would have to tell them that it is not Jesus that caused the change. It is the community, it is their association with people who claim to believe in Jesus that led them to have that change in behavior. And it is not sufficient to account for the change in behavior because other people have stopped doing drugs or drinking and crime without Jesus. So it shows me that if there are natural methods to explain that behavior, then it is likely that also this change in behavior experienced by the Christian is by natural means, because that is what is demonstrable. It's the association with the community that has led them to change the behavior rather than the actual existence of Jesus. Or if somebody tells me they've had an encounter with the Holy Spirit, that's a mythical experience, and not mythical, but mystical experience. Yeah, it's common in many religions, even the African traditional religions. We used to have people who would start chanting, and eventually it's like they're in a trance. It's like they've been taken over by the spirit of their ancestors. So in that case, I would tell them that, again, it's not evidence of a God, it's just evidence of the practices, the rituals they undertook in order to have that experience. You see, when you sing those worship songs, when you are together with people who have a similar mindset, and then when you have been psychologically prepared to, quote unquote, receive the Holy Spirit, that's how you behave. And these mystical experiences have been observed among people who take psychedelics. If you take drugs, even some people who smoke weed, sometimes they tell you they have seen God. It is just a neurochemical reaction. It's a story in your brain that has been curated by those rituals, by the singing and the chanting, repeating something over and over again. It does something to your brain, and you feel that intense outcome. So you attribute it to Jesus. It's not really Jesus, it's those rituals. If you didn't do those things, if you didn't even meditate, sometimes that meditation, that fasting, even depriving your brain of oxygen, it causes those reactions. So it isn't the undetectable thing called Jesus or God It is the detectable one, which is these ritual practices that lead somebody to have that mystical spiritual experience. Now, on the one about Jesus coming from heaven to become a human being, that one, I would mention several things. I would tell them, I would ask them, what is your proof? What is your proof that Jesus is the Son of God, that Jesus, first of all, exists? You have to cross that bridge, first of all, that big hurdle, to prove to me that Jesus exists. And then two, you have to prove to me that he performed those supernatural acts. All they have to go on is the Bible. Unfortunately, as we have said before, the Bible is so erroneous, it's so contradictory, it has so many mistakes, it's not a reliable source. Yeah, and the Bible is actually the claim. This is where the claim is placed. You cannot use a source as proof when it is making the actual claim. You have to go outside the Bible. So some of them will say that there were 500 eyewitnesses that observed the death and resurrection. Because what is objectionable here is the supernatural aspects of Jesus. For me, personally, I'm not a mythicist. I am a historian. I believe there was a historical Jesus, but he did not perform the supernatural acts claimed in the Bible. And I'll explain why I think there was a man called Jesus who might have existed, a rabbi, but not a supernatural Jesus. So, but before I get to that, let me respond to that one of 500 eyewitnesses. As Stano said, that's just claimed.
About for proof of that Jesus existence, that is not for this debate. Maybe we'll prepare for another debate about whether Jesus, historical Jesus, whether actually existed or whether there is any historical evidence there was somebody called Jesus.
Okay. Okay, so I just stopped the point because I was answering the question. Because somebody says, if somebody says Jesus came to the earth as a God, that's proof that he is. That's the evidence he's presenting. So I ended there, or what? Because I just want to finish my train of thought. We can skip the existence. We can respond to how they say that this is evidence. This is evidence for God. My last two sentences, I know I've spoken for long. So what I would tell them is their only evidence is from the Bible. They do not have a tomb which can be examined for forensic evidence. There's no sword, there are no artifacts, there's no cross, there are no clothes, and there's even no extra biblical evidence to show these divine components. So given that fact, I would tell them that there was no divine being that came to the earth. It is not evidence for God. Thank you so much. I enjoyed the discussion. It was very intense and heated when the Christian was there. I wish they stayed until the very end, but thank you all. I loved what Moses did. I enjoyed that conversation. Too bad the internet and Kenya Power let us down. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you very much. Now we come to Deve and we are finalizing, but I think we can, as we finalize, we can just try to comment about the cosmological about, but what I want us just to mention is about they claim that then God is spaceless, timeless, and immaterial. And they also claim that angels and the devil are immaterial, timeless, and spaceless. And they also claim that the universe, which is material, which is limited with the time, must have been created by the thing that by the beings that is which is timeless, spaceless, which is they call him as God. But in the same case, they claim that the angels who are timeless, immaterial, were also created by God. So that according to me, that in that sense, what they are is not part of cosmological, it's part of explaining the cosmological, the way they explain. So when they say that, I find them contradicting themselves, because if tangible thing can be created by material thing, and the same immaterial thing can be created by immaterial, which is called God, angel is immaterial and they have been created by God who is immaterial, it's also possible, using that logic, for immaterial, which is called God, to be created by another immaterial. So that means the claim about God is spaceless and timeless does not make end there. It only continue with now immaterial creating immaterial, creating immaterial. So let's hear from David.
Thanks, Stano. From what I heard, he was struggling. I mean, he was suffering. You have to feel for Oscar. I think maybe when we have this conversation, to structure the proof in a way and maybe give that information to the Christians, that there is a threshold of proof. They have to, when they are talking about proof, they can't just, like, you give, well, we should probably just to feel pity, like it is, the suffering is just too much. His suffering was just too much to bear. So maybe to help by telling them what evidence is, what proof is, what is a threshold of a proof, so that it can start, because he's quoting scientists, and the scientists have to go through very rigorous kind of proof. Somebody else will come and just say, I took those experiments and you just took 10 data points. That's garbage, all that kind of thing. And he's quoting scientists fearlessly without understanding what they have to go through to come out with evidence, to come out with the proof that they are talking about. But I know he picked his scientists very, very carefully. But I'm just suggesting that we try to give them, because if we give them what proof is, what acceptable proof is, then they can stop thinking about spirits and faith and things like those that are not proof that we can deal with, because those are that is just your faith. They forget it. Don't bring it as proof. I'm just thinking. So maybe Stano, you can think how to put it in a way that can come home to somebody that is struggling with the proof and evidence. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone who have left behind? Juliana, are you able to speak or even to say hi? So Morioki?
Yeah, hi. Oh, hi everyone. Can you hear me? That was a very interesting discussion. I didn't have much to contribute, but it was nice to see how the arguments were going. Maybe next time we have it when we have the power and we're able to YouTube it, because I think this is a very, very interesting topic, and we'll always keep answering these questions all the time. So thank you, and looking forward to next week's topic. Have a good week, everyone.
Thank you, Juliana. Morioki?
Yeah, just before you go, a quick question. You see, the planets are like the Earth. This Jupiter, Mars, Mercury, they're like the Earth. So the same way God made the Earth is the same way He must have made those planets. But the Bible doesn't say that. It's like the Earth was made differently from other planets. So that's a bone of contention, because they're like the Earth, but maybe they have no life, but they're just like the Earth. So now, if God made the Earth the way He made it, then these planets shall be in the same way. Is that a fair argument? That's a question.
I think, repeat.
I'm saying these planets, Jupiter, Mars, they're like the Earth. They have no life, but they're like the Earth. So the same way He made the Earth the same way he made those. He must have made the earth the same way he made the planets, because they are similar to the earth. But the Bible says the earth was made differently from other heavenly bodies. Yet Satan, these planets are they're like the earth, but they have no life. So the same process he used to make the earth should be the same process he used to make the other planets. So is that a fair argument? Because they're like the earth. They're like they're earth, but they have no life. The other planets. Thanks.
Okay, for me, I can act as a devil advocate. I can pretend to be a Christian and say that God created everything, but He created us as unique to fit human beings and the animals. But although according to the Bible, you will find the heaven is where the cloudy are, according to the description of Bible and even Quran and Bhagavad Gita. But as apology, I can act as an devil advocate by saying everything was created by God, but He created us as a special place where to feed human beings and the other animals and the plant. So let's hear from David.
On the creation, on the Genesis creation, it says that God created heaven and earth. So it did not say the planet. It's because the way the creation story puts it, heaven as if it is just a dome. It's just this big dome, because they looked at heaven as just as far as they could see. It is just this big, huge dome that is covering them. It's as far as the horizon that they could see. So you can just see, when you look at the way the Genesis creation is written, you will understand that they are not considering what other bodies are there. They just say, yeah, they're saying the stars, but there are stars and there are planets. They are different kinds of bodies. So when you read creation, you will understand that they had not yet seen the space, or what is there in space. Therefore, this person that is creating the space and has not seen the things that they are creating out there so that they can be written properly is absurd, isn't it? It's an absurd kind of thing that you've created those planets, but when you come to write about them, you're not mentioning them. It is not as if you know that they exist. You think that only this little planet here, this little planet here is the only one that exists. So yeah, you will find that if you read Genesis again about the creation of heaven and earth, you'll find there really there are no planets, because they were not visible. Maybe the stars were visible, but not the planets, so they are not mentioned.
So
yeah, God just forgot the planets.
So never, it's a fair argument, eh? That's a fair argument.
Oh yeah. And obviously, for me, I always say that the Christian or the person that is using the Bible has to either come back and say that, well, God was tired and He forgot some of these things. Let us be fair. Let's be fair to God. It's a lot of work that he had to do, and He forgot a few things. He forgot that that because of the sin, we would need a savior right down the road. He forgot that. Give it that God forgot. And so either they will have to revise the Bible and put some of things, or just say that, well, this thing was not written right. We have to live, or rather take put in okay, allow those spaces, those things that are not right about the Bible, about the stars, about the heavens, about the earth, about I think they are going to have to come a time that people who believe in the Bible are going to have to come to terms with that. Thank you.
Okay, fine. Okay, thank you. So, but Morioki, for me, I may say you can just try to twist that question instead of talking about the other planets like Jupiter and whatever. When you are facing like a Christian, you can just ask them if God is all knowing and is the one who created the world, the earth. How come he stopped the sun from moving around the earth for Joshua to fight his enemy? How come he say, or he allows scripture to be written as if many stars will fall on earth? How come the writer of the Bible speak as if the earth is a small village where you can climb in on top of a tree according to the Isaiah and the Job and see the whole world? How come all those things? So a simple question like that, because you cannot expect to climb a tree and see the whole world. You cannot expect to climb a mountain, for the case of the Jesus, and being shown the whole world by Satan. You cannot expect the star which is bigger than Earth, many thousand times bigger than the Earth, to fall on Earth. And not one star, but many stars. The Earth is the one that is supposed to fall on the star. But instead of that, the star is falling on Earth, and not a star, but many stars. It's like many cows falling on one chicken, instead of chicken falling on a cow. So you can just twist that question to be like that, instead of talking about the other planets, because they may have some loophole. Yeah. Do we have another person to comment before we end, because we are about to end? Tony, do you have something even to say hi? Or you are not at a position to speak?
No, I'm okay. I was listening. I was enjoying the disposition of the knowledge from various individuals. And I don't have much to contribute, but it has been a good session for me.
Okay, thank you all. I think